His strength is perfect when all our hope is gone. He'll carry us when we can't carry on. Great in His power, the weak become strong. His strength is perfect. His strength is perfect. You may be wondering why I am singing this song. You know, this song is a very powerful song that got me through a time in my life when I felt all hope was lost. A time in my life when I felt my body was betraying me. My body wasn't doing what it needed to do for me. And this song just lifted me up. It took me to a place that I don't think any other song would have done for me. So this song by CC Winers, His Strength is Perfect, my mommy in the Lord. Yeah. So welcome to the Maternity Diary. If you're new here, this is a place where we share the real truth about parenting. And so please subscribe to this channel. Let us know if this is your first time watching this video. And if you're a faithful subscriber, please like this video right now, and you can at least just say hi if you've never ever commented on our videos. There are so many of you, honestly, that keep messaging me and you don't say hi here. I know you're all shy and all of that, but please show me some love. At least like every video, like this video, okay? So today I'm going to talk about a very important thing. It's called gestational diabetes. It is a journey that I experienced for myself, and so today I'm going to share with you my personal journey with gestational diabetes. I had a very smooth, different first pregnancy. I had no kind of complication or anything like that. It was quite a smooth journey for me, okay? We'll talk about that in another video. And for my second, in the peak of COVID, actually the day that, during the month that it was announced that there was going to be a lockdown because of COVID, I find out that I am pregnant, and then my workplace sent all of us home, and I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Oh. You know, it was a totally different experience, okay? And in the months after that, okay, a couple of months after, I go to see my doctor, and the usual routine test that you do as a pregnant woman is to do the diabetes test. Okay, so I thought it was just normal like the first one, because mind you, my first baby, when I was pregnant with him, I actually had to do the gestational diabetes test, I think 3 times, because my readings were a little bit high, but then so they needed me to come back, stay in the hospital for I think 10 hours straight. Was it 10? I think so. I think it was 10 hours straight, where I had to take some liquids and then go pee, take out some blood, then do again. Like I had to repeat this process. So I actually stayed in the hospital for a long time just so that I could be cleared of gestational diabetes. So honestly, it was the last thing that I thought I was going to have during my second pregnancy. I thought, oh, this is going to be smooth and easy, and especially it being COVID, we have been sent home. Luckily for me, the government of Canada was paying us a certain amount of money every month for all those who had been laid off by their workplaces. And so I was like, okay, this is going to make even things easier for me because I don't have to like be running to work. I remember those days with my first, I would drive to the metro because I mean, I can't pay for parking where I work. So I drive to the metro, and then from the metro, I go into the subway. And then sometimes, oh God, you have some of the most wicked people. They will see my stomach as big as this, and they wouldn't even get up for me to sit. I mean, guys, try to be kind. Okay, we in this state, we don't. We don't have to ask you that. Please, can you let us sit? I've had several experiences with this. I'm going to share this with you later on in another video. And so, yeah, so in the peak of COVID, I go to the hospital, I do my test, and they're like, you have to do the test again. So I thought, well, it's probably like my first time, so it's not a problem. So I didn't really think much of it because I thought it was the normal thing. I do my following test, and then I was hit with the big news that you have gestational diabetes. For me, I was like, okay, I don't think this is a big deal. And then I started reading. In fact, before I started reading, the doctor was like, so because of that, this pregnancy of yours is high risk. Come and see me. I'm like, oh God, this pregnancy is high risk. And the first one, I didn't have high risk, so I was so scared. And so I decided to start reading about it, and I started like trying to cut down my food because I had to do another test, to like a confirmatory test. So I decided, oh, I have to cut down like my carbs and things like that because, mind you, I'm a biochemist, okay? So I know some of the things that you need to do to be able to reduce the sugar in your blood and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So me, the biochemist, I tried to reduce my food like a week before because I had about, I think, 1.5 weeks to come and do my final confirmatory test. So I started like eating moderately, not eating certain things and all of that. I was like, okay, that's great, that's wonderful. And then I go to the hospital because I was like, oh, I'm going to ace this test. I go to the hospital, and then unfortunately I was hit with the bigger news that you do have GD, gestational diabetes. And so you have to see a nutritionist and see another doctor. I think I had to see like 3 different doctors that day. Nutritionist, what's the other doctor? Like my regular doctor. And then I had to see, I cannot remember. The gynae, I think so. I can't remember, honestly. I'll when I remember the course of the video, I'm going to share with you. And so I saw my doctors and all of that. So I mean, first of all, let's start. What is gestational diabetes? Because not everybody knows what gestational diabetes is. Gestational diabetes is a type of diabetes that occurs in pregnant women who don't already have diabetes. Okay. And according to research, about 2 to a maximum of 10% of pregnancies, all women who are pregnant end up having diabetes. And it depends on different risk factors, okay? It could be that maybe in your family, there's some kind of diabetes in your family, so it's been, I don't know, at that time, there are several risk factors. And so the moment you have, it means that in diabetes, your body is not able to produce enough insulin to convert the sugars, okay? And so depending on how far you are gone in your diabetes, because they do check the level, depending on the level of diabetes that you have, you may, okay, so one, there are different things that they would want to do to help you manage your diabetes in pregnancy. The first one obviously is diet, and they would also recommend some kind of exercises like physical activities for you. But the last resort usually is for you to go on insulin injections. So first of all, let's ask ourselves, what causes gestational diabetes in the first place? Like, why is it that your whole life you've never had diabetes? The moment you get pregnant, maybe even your first child, no diabetes, second child, no diabetes, and then third, you suddenly have diabetes, okay? There are several factors for that, and one of the main factors is that at this time the body is producing different hormones, okay, to be able to regulate your body, your pregnant body. And your body goes through a lot of changes during this time, including weight gain, and I mean, a lot of things are changing inside of you. These changes in your body cause your cells to utilize less insulin, okay, than they normally would. So the insulin resistance, okay, that you have at this time will cause your body not to use the insulin that your body already produces. And the unfortunate thing is, about 50% of women that develop gestational diabetes during pregnancy end up carrying like diabetes for the rest of their lives. So this is why it's very important to make sure that you manage gestational diabetes as much as you can. I come from a family, my dad is diabetic as well, and so the moment I heard, and I've seen him like had to inject it, not well, he knows how to manage himself very well, so he hasn't had to use insulin much. But then what he does is he tests before and after meals all the time, and so I have been used to seeing him do that, and he tries to manage his food. If you see my dad eating, sometimes you feel bad for him. Like the portion is so tiny. I'm like, even a baby will be hungry after eating this still, you know. But so the moment I was told that I had gestational diabetes, I started like running my head. I was like, oh my God, this is what daddy was going through diabetes. He had to cut his portion, like make sure that his portion was small. And so I was like, hey, pregnancy. First of all, my first pregnancy, I didn't even enjoy to eat because I had so much nausea. I was very uncomfortable. I didn't get to eat the kind of things I wanted to eat. And now that I have this pregnancy, I'm like, okay, I'll make sure that I enjoy all the good things in that come with pregnancy, the food and all of that. Then, unfortunately, I have to cut down the food. Imagine that. I have to, I can't eat like what I want to do. All my plans have been shattered, you know. And oh, if you're wondering what happened here, yeah, I was baking a cake for my husband. I bent myself with the oven because, oh my God, my kids, when I'm baking, they all want to be around. And so I'm trying to protect them. Oh, no, no, don't come close. And then my arms. Yeah, so that's what my boo-boo here is about. So there are a lot of symptoms that you experience when you get gestational diabetes. It includes frequent urination, and mind you, frequent urination already is normal during pregnancy. Like sometimes in the night, one of the things I hated the most about pregnancy was having to wake up 20 times a night while my husband is sleeping and dozing and snoring. I'll wake up already, I can't even sleep. I'm exhausted, I'm uncomfortable, and then I'm waking up to pee every single time. Anyway, but in gestational diabetes, it's actually worse, okay, than the frequent urination that you already do. Secondly, you're going to experience a lot of thirst, like you feel like you are constantly thirsty. Okay, another symptom that I experienced personally also was carpal tunnel. So carpal tunnel happens when there is pressure on the median nerves, okay, the median nerves here on your arm, and it usually affects your arms or your entire hand. Okay, here is what happens when you have the carpal tunnel. You will sleep in the night, or sometimes even randomly, and then you wake up and there's a lot of numbness in your arm or your entire hand. There is also like some tingling. It's very uncomfortable. I think in Ghana some people call it ananse, but this is a very painful one. Very, very painful. So it's numb, it's tingling, and you also feel weakness. You can't do anything with your arms as well. And so during the time when I had the carpal tunnel, oh my God, that was so painful because already you wake up and your leg is stiff, you have the numbness in your leg, and now my hand, it was, and at that time I had a almost toddler also, because I was pregnant when my son was just over a year old. And so I still in the middle of the night, sometimes you have to hold him and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God, because my hands become weak. I cannot do anything. I cannot hold anything. And it's so painful. I mean, I don't mind if it's numb. I don't mind if it just tingles. But then the fact that it's painful also, it's so for me. Some This is what I actually used. So I used to have to wear this before I sleep every night to help a little bit with the nerves, the median nerves. Okay, and so oh god, and it's sort of like a brace, like it's like braces. Okay, what sometimes they wear for psychiatric patients on their whole body so that they don't move and all of that. So this is how it is. And so I haven't used it in a long time. Thank god. And so you would usually like put your hand, so usually I'll have to put my hand through like this, and then do you see what I'm doing? And then like this, and then like this. So this is how it is. There are also different ways you can wear it. Depends on what makes you comfortable, okay? And it's very stiff, so it sort of keeps your hands like extremely stiff. And I think, no, actually this is the right side. So I actually have two that I used to use. So there's this one. And usually when you use it in the night, it actually reduces like the pain that you have in your arms. Okay, but what that means also is that you cannot move your arms because it's extremely hard. Like you cannot bend it. You get it? There were times too when I would, like during the day, if I felt it, because during the day I cannot wear the stiff one. So during the day I would wear like this simple one like this. Yeah, you see? Yeah, this simple one. That used to help a little bit, but not as much as the other one. But then this was just so that it's easy. This one had copper in it. So just so that it's easy for me to do stuff at home. But the other one, if you wear it, you cannot even move your fingers. You cannot move your, nothing at all. Yeah, so that used to help me a lot. Okay, so there are many reasons why gestational diabetes makes you high risk. Okay, it makes your pregnancy a high risk pregnancy. The first one is that it can, okay, lead to high blood pressure during pregnancy, and high blood pressure pre-eclampsia is also a high risk pregnancy. In fact, the moment they realize that you have pre-eclampsia or you have high blood pressure during pregnancy, the doctor like has to hold you as an egg, because you are in a state where anything can happen. Okay, you are at high risk, your baby's at high risk. And it's the same when you have gestational diabetes as well, just because the possibility to develop high blood pressure is is very high. Another related health problem with gestational diabetes is that your baby can grow very, very big, and so usually they do not let you carry your pregnancy full term. Okay, the 40 weeks, the entire 40 weeks, they do not let you carry it because your baby is very big. So sometimes they reduce it. So let's say you would have to give birth at 36 weeks, or most of the time they would ask that you do a cesarean section. Okay, so for me, like when I think at 36, right? Yeah, I think 36 weeks, I was already scheduled to be induced on the 36th week of my pregnancy. Not because my baby was big yet, but just because of the high risk. Okay, and so when you have gestational diabetes, there are a lot of things that you are supposed to do. You're supposed to check your blood sugar before and after meals 3 times each day. And God, that is very tedious. That is like really, really a problem. So let me show you this. Okay, so I actually was using this one, the One Touch, because there is a measure, there's a threshold that you're not supposed to cut off. So usually it's written out for you, and before breakfast, for instance, your reading shouldn't be more than 4.7, and after breakfast, usually an hour after, it shouldn't be more than 7.3. when it comes to lunchtime, it shouldn't be before lunchtime. 6.7 is the expected, and then after lunchtime it shouldn't go beyond a certain, okay. It has to be below. You make sure that you're below these targets. Dinner too, it's, I think there's also a different yeah. So usually before you eat every time, you would have to, so this is my pen, this is my, yeah, so this is the needle, okay. This is where the readings will be done, and then this is like the test strips that you will use. So this is actually what you use to pick up the blood when you prick yourself. This is what you use to do the pricking actually. So there are pins, I can show you briefly. So there is this pin that you put in there, okay. So you let it lock like this, and then you take off the top. So you can see like there's a pin over here, and you can actually adjust it to 1, 2, 3. So the more you adjust, the higher the number. That means that the deeper it would pierce you. And for me, in the beginning, I was starting like with 1, 2 over here. And then at some point, oh my God, it was as if I wasn't having any blood anymore. No matter where I pierced, how I pierced, there was no blood. So I actually had to increase it to 7 because I just wasn't getting any blood. And I would, and it's not like I wasn't squeezing it, because when I pierce, I'll be squeezing so that some blood will come. At a point, I wasn't even, I would like, my entire left hand has been pierced, there's no blood coming again. My entire right hand, I'm like, oh, where else would I pierce? And I will squeeze and press just so that I can get a tiny drop of blood where I can. So usually you take this test strip, you put it here, and then you make sure that the blood, for instance, if you prick here, the blood goes on it like this, and then you have your reading right here. And usually this saves your recording anyway, it saves all your readings, but then I always still write it down, okay. At some point, no matter what I did, like no matter the food I ate, it was always the same. Like my readings never changed. Let me show you this. So look at this. So I remember I told you that before breakfast it should be 4.7. Oh my God, 5.9. Do you see 5.9, 5.9, 5.7? And I wasn't eating at night. Like I never used to eat after 6 p.m. But still, 5.4. Oh my God, like 5.8, 6.2. There were other days I would 6.2. I mean, come on, 6.2. That I can tell you the truth that I only got the results that I was supposed to have had. I only had it like twice or 3 times during the entire pregnancy. And imagine you are pricking morning, afternoon, evening. And so at some point, after they did the food portion for me, they did everything, it still wasn't happening. So unfortunately, I had to be on insulin injection. And the insulin injection, you have to be injected on your stomach, okay? And oh my God, you have to do it before every meal, every single meal. And I actually started with 2 units. I had to inject just 2 units. And at some point, like, what happens is every week you send your results. So your logbook, you send your results to your doctor. So every week I'll send my results to my doctor, and then they will change my the dosage that I'm supposed to be taking. And so at some point, I started with 2, and then at some point I actually had to take 24 units because nothing was working. Yeah, so this is, I should have found the insulin, but I'll show you another time. So this is like, usually this is the pin, the sterile needle that you use and you can inject it anywhere, usually around your stomach or your thighs. And me, I prefer my stomach, okay. Yeah, so this was, yeah, this is it. This is it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So it was a very tough experience because I had to inject insulin at, I think it was 4 times a day. So before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, and before I sleep. And the dosage kept increasing and increasing and increasing, and really there was nothing I could do. I was eating just beans at some point, no bread at all, like even fruits. I couldn't even take half a banana because my readings would just shoot up so much. And sometimes even after not eating, I was like, why is my body even betraying me? I'm doing everything I can. Like before, after meals, I take a long walk, come back, and still it's the same when I do my readings. It was very frustrating. At some point, I started like, if let's say my reading is 9.4, I'll write 9.2 just because I'm like, I don't want the doctor to increase my dosage. Like, that is exactly how I felt. And it was so painful. It was a very difficult time in my life, even though I'm smiling about it now. It was extremely difficult for me at that time. As I already mentioned, there are different treatments for gestational diabetes. Usually, the first and foremost is your diet. It's changed radically, and you have your nutritionist to help you know what meal to take. And yeah, next you have to be very active. You have to do a lot of walking. And I know people that before they went to do the gestational diabetes test, they had to like roller skates just so that they don't get the result that you do not want. I remember I spoke to a friend and she was like, oh, my sister did this before she did the test just so that she wouldn't be positive. So come and see me. Hey, the weekend before I went to do my test, I was doing everything I could just so that the test would be negative. And unfortunately, it wasn't. And they would have to monitor your baby a lot. So usually, if you have to, normally you have to go to the hospital every 2 weeks. Because of gestational diabetes, you actually end up going every week or every few days because they have to check your baby as well, and you have to check yourself also. And so this was the journey that I had with diabetes. And so my son was supposed to be induced on let's say on a particular day way before the due time. And my son even surprised. He was like, you know what, I was supposed to be induced and I was in a dilemma. Like, I was scared. I don't think I've ever been so scared of delivery and pregnancy like I was with my son, my second son. I was so scared. I had a friend who was induced. Okay, she didn't have gestational diabetes at that time, and so she was induced for her first pregnancy. So I was like, oh my God, I need to talk to her. So I'll call her every day. So how was the induction? How did they do? Like, I was just so scared. My mind was everywhere. Like, I would sleep and I'll have nightmares. I'll have dreams, like crazy dreams that I was at the hospital. I was trying to, they were inducing me because I started reading about how is the induction done. Like, they put like a balloon which expands in your oh God, I can't even thinking about talking about it is yeah, it was really difficult. And luckily for me, my son came before the induction dates that they gave to me, and boy was I happy. The interesting thing is I started having contractions the last day that I stopped working. That's when I had to go back to work again during the pregnancy. And so the day that I put up for my last day was the day that I had my contractions. And I'll be working, and my friend, like, okay, so we're working, it was remotely, okay, but then I used to talk to my friend from time to time. And then there was a time she called me during the day, and then I was talking to her, and I was like, wait. And then she was quiet. She was like, and the funny thing, she never said anything. She was always quiet the entire time. And so the next day, when I told her that I had given her, she was like, oh my God, is that why you were making that noise during our call? She was like, is that why? because she could hear me and she was so scared today. She was like, what's going on? Because she's never had a baby before. She's never been pregnant yet. And she was so scared, okay? And so during the day I was having contractions, but I wanted to end the day. Okay, I didn't want to have to leave, so I kept holding on, holding on, holding on. And at some point, my husband, we call my son's godfather, and we're like, you know what, you come. I told him that we have to call him to come because we still have that boy. He cannot go to the hospital with us. And so I told my husband to call him, and then he came so that he can come, because I felt, no, this is painful, extremely painful. And I usually don't say that my water never broke, okay, not for my first boy, so I knew that this could also happen to my second. And so my water never broke, and we're expecting to go to the hospital later on the dates that they were given to go do our induction. And so my water didn't break, and I was feeling like this intense, like I felt like, no, this baby's coming. And because we've been given a date, I had to call them, because you can't just walk into the hospital. At that time, it was the peak of COVID. You also cannot just go to the hospital and say that because things were different at the time. And so I called the hospital, and then I told them, this is the pain. They were like, oh, it's okay, it's whatever, it's fine, it's normal. When you know that, like, when it is every 5 minutes and then it's sustained for like 30 seconds or more, then you know that, okay, you need to run to the hospital. But guess what? I wasn't having that. It wasn't like the timing that they told me. It wasn't the same for me, even though it was like the symptoms I was showing were not, according to the time, were not what they wanted. I knew my body, and I knew that this baby was going to come. So at some point, my husband even calls them again. She's like, okay, this is what happened. She's going through this. We're like, no, it's fine. It's normal, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God. So at some point, I was on the floor. I was like, you know what? We need to go to the hospital now. Call them and tell them that, yes, I'm having the symptoms that they are saying. If they say, is she having contractions lasting more than 1 minute, blah, 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 just say yes. Even though I wasn't, because what I was going through, I knew myself. And guess what? If I had stayed at home for even 1 hour, I would have ended up having my baby at home on my own with my husband there. And so we ran to the hospital, and look, let me tell you this. For my first son, I remember when we were going into the hospital, my husband wanted to go bring the wheelchair. I was like, what? Wheelchair for what? I'm walking into the bed to go have my baby. So we actually walked to the 4th floor. Well, we took the elevator, but then we did walk. We did some kind of walk, took the elevator, and then... So for my second, I was like, I'm going to do the same. So initially, my husband drove to the emergency, in front of the emergency, and I was like, what are you doing? He said, oh, but the way you're in pain. And I said, Massa, please take me to the parking lot. Let's park, and then we walk back to... So he was like, okay, if you say so. Guess what? We get to the parking lot, and at that time, I couldn't even get up, walk, do anything. Like, I couldn't move. I was in pain. Like, I'd never felt this kind of pain. Even though I've given birth before, this pain was a different kind of pain. And so my husband was so surprised. I was like, you know what, you need to go bring the wheelchair. He was like, but you told me you didn't need a wheelchair, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, please bring the wheelchair. I cannot. So he finally goes to bring the wheelchair. Even in the wheelchair, to sit on the wheelchair, God, I couldn't. Eventually, we get inside the hospital, and then he goes to do my registration. Okay, she's ready. So they take me to the room, and then I'm lying down. I'm already they're checking, because they know, they have my file. They know that I have gestational diabetes, so they have to take extra care of me. So immediately, everybody's around me, trying to do this, trying to do that. And then immediately I started screaming, Jesus, 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 save me, Jesus, save me, I can't, Jesus, oh no, I was screaming like nobody's business. And For my first, I didn't scream Jesus, but this one, I don't know, for some reason, I was just screaming, Jesus, Jesus, save me, Jesus, save me, oh, save me. I, I can't remember the full details, but then I can remember vividly when they were trying to move me to my room for delivery. I was just screaming, oh my God, Jesus, 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 oh, no, no, no. I screamed. And I think that the whole fear of being induced and gestational diabetes, high risk, anything could happen to me, anything could happen to my um, baby unborn child was scary. Like it frightened me so much that I was a completely different person. Like for my first, I was more composed. I don't think I ever even screamed at some point. The only time I had to scream was maybe when they said push, and I'm like, that was it. But this one, oh God. At the point I was screaming, where's the epidural? Don't you have epidural? Where's the epidural? And they were like, it's too late for it, because at that point I was already 8, was it 8? I think 7.5 or 8, almost 8 centimeters dilated, okay? And imagine, like, I would have given birth at home or even in the car. You know, if I hadn't trusted my own body, I would have ended up giving birth at home or on the stairs or something, you know. That's why it's important to trust yourself, to know your own body and then trust it. And so I remember I was screaming. They're like, oh, you're already dilated and blah, blah, blah. So they're like, okay, don't go bring it. But then I know for sure they didn't do anything because 8 centimeters dilated, it just means that you're ready to push. And so my doctor comes in and then like she starts, okay, push. The moment I started pushing, I just started throwing up. Like I was just throwing up. And apparently, if you throw up during pregnancy, usually women who are like frightened, who are scared, having anxiety, throw up during pregnancy. And according to my mother-in-law, if you throw up during pregnancy, all your teeth will be lost after you've had a baby. Well, I can tell you it didn't happen to me, so it's not true. Maybe it's true for others, but it's not true. But that's what she said anyway. So I threw up, and at that time I was wearing my mask, you know, giving birth in a mask. That's why at some point I used to get so pissed off when people refused to wear their mask, like at the peak of COVID in the stores or somewhere. Like I was so mad because look, if I, a pregnant woman going through what I was going through, okay, was pushing in a mask, how dare you say you cannot wear a mask because you are suffocating? Seriously, you know. Anyway, so I actually ended up puking in the mask, and they had to take off the mask, clean me up, and they didn't let me wear the mask again, you know, at that point, because they didn't know what was going to happen, because I could have choked on the puke anyway. Yeah, disgusting. I know, disgusting, but it wasn't disgusting then. Anyway, so lo and behold, they were like, okay, push. So we didn't, like, I think within 1 hour of we going to the hospital, my baby was already out and they had given them to me. And we called my son's godfather. We're like, okay, we have our baby. And he was like, what? But you just literally just went to the hospital. And we're like, yeah. When we got there, I was like almost fully dilated. And so this is my story of my gestational diabetes story, my journey. And so if you do have gestational diabetes in pregnancy, please do not panic. And that was one thing that I kept panicking. And there were times I'll just be singing my song, He'll carry us when we can't carry on. Raising his power, the weak become strong when you think you're weak. His strength is perfect. Oh, his strength is perfect. His strength is made perfect when we feel weak, when we feel tired, when we feel like our body has betrayed us. Just know that you are not alone if you've been diagnosed with gestational diabetes. Just listen to your doctor. That's all you need to do. All you need to do is to stay true to yourself. Listen to what your doctor tells you. Cut down the food portions. There's more food to eat after you have your baby. Trust me, the day I got home after my baby, in fact, wait, I'm not even done with that. So after I had the baby, while in the hospital, they had to do multiple tests for me to be sure that the diabetes was gone before I could eat certain foods again. And same with my baby, he also had to be checked just because I was diagnosed with it. And they had to do it for 2 days. And on the second day, that's when they cleared me. And guess what? That day, when I got home, I told my husband, I need some more to drink. And so I drank a malt. I was like, okay, I need Coke. I went to buy like a big 1 liter, 1.5 liter, and drank this Coke. Well, I think I used just 2 days to finish the entire Coke by myself because I felt I had suffered enough and I needed to break this cycle, Yeah. And so just know that you're not alone. Diabetes is a very tough thing, and just lean on the supports that you have, lean on your medical doctors, lean on your nutritionists or your doctors actually, and just make sure you exercise a lot and take care of yourself. This phase will pass. So my beautiful dress, okay, is it a dress? It's a jumpsuit. So my beautiful jumpsuit, I wish I could get up, but if I get up you wouldn't see anything. Let's see. Yeah. Ooh. So my beautiful jumpsuit was made by M&F Couture. It was sponsored by them, and so I'll be putting their link in the description. Please go follow them, mention TMD, the maternity diary, and you get 10% off any purchase that you make. Trust me, everything that you buy from them is customized. Okay, you can customize whatever you want, and it can be shipped worldwide, internationally. This was shipped to me right here in Canada. And so yeah. And so guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you know anyone that is pregnant, please share this video with everyone that you know, okay? And you never know who this will help, this will encourage, because people are out there. We are depressed, we are anxious just because we think we are the only ones going through a particular situation, okay? And so we just need to hear the voice of someone else who has been through the journey themselves, sharing their own story. And so guys, yeah, thank you for liking this video. If you haven't liked this video already, please do share your stories with me. Share any kind of word that you want to say to me. I haven't seen some of you, your comments in ages. I haven't seen your comment, Rona, in a long time. I haven't seen your comment, Lorraine, in a long time. I haven't seen, who else? Kantanka. I think he's one of my best, he used to hype me so much. Please, is it Safo Kantanka, right? I think so. Please, I haven't seen your comment in a long time. We miss you here. We miss you at the maternity diary. Please do comment. Let me know that you're still around. Sharon, let me know you're still around. Please do comment. Any one of you that hasn't commented at all before, please do comment on the videos, okay? And a special thanks to Wilma, who is always encouraging me. She's just a very wonderful mentor, and thanks so much for encouraging me. Thank you for liking every video, for commenting, for referring TMD to everybody that you know. I really appreciate it. Please note that she has a second book coming up this month of love, okay? And we'll be given 5 lucky subscribers. So please do comment on this video, because this is the video, okay, that is going to make me pick you for this book. So we'll be giving out books to 5 lucky subscribers. Her book that she authored with her husband, yes, yeah, she authored with her husband. It's called To Love or Not to Love, and trust me, it's a beautiful book. I know Wilma, okay? She's one of the best people that I've ever met. She's one of the most inspiring people. She has her own channel called Wilma Forsen, but she does run, okay, a program called My Faith, My Womb. And so please do head to her channel right now. I will leave her link in the description section. And please do comment on this video, because 5 of you, and why do I keep saying 5 with 10 hands? 5 of you will be picked to get this book. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, okay? I know that my higher subscribers yeah, viewers actually are from Australia, Canada, and Ghana. And so please surprise me, those of you in the States, those of you in the UK, Lizette, all of you, please do surprise me by commenting on the video so that we can pick some of you. Okay, we don't want everything going to the Canadians and then the Australians and then the Ghanaians. Okay, those of you in the States also deserve it, those of you in the UK also deserve it. Okay, so guys, until next time, don't forget to stay happy, stay healthy, stay beautiful, and never ever forget that God loves you. See you next time on the Maternity Diary. Mwah, 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 mwah.
I'ma live my life like it's my last day. Live my life like it's my last day. So I'ma live my life.